citizens of America, the so-called Western forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens?
Alex, what was the spark that lit the fuse for this movie?
I shared the same worry that a lot of people shared, which is something really strange is happening. The press are not trusted, the politicians are acting like psychopaths, and social media is fueling it, and something dark and strange is going on. I think some of it is a product of my age. I'm 53, born in 1970. I was brought up, in effect, with cautionary tales about fascism in Germany and about how it came out of poverty and democracy. And so I see states descending into madness as something perfectly possible. And all over the world, it happens. There's a lot of countries you can point to as nightmares. The question is, can this occur at home? Can it occur in my country, or America, or European countries, or wherever it happens to be? Can it happen? And is anybody a unique, special, protected case? And I don't think anybody is. So,
as you watch things unfold in real life, was there a point where you were like, I need to stop typing, I need to put down the pen, it's almost too real?
No, you know what happened in reality was, like I said, there was a sort of ambient state of concern. Lots of people shared it. There was, the way I would put it is sort of the opposite of prescience. It was quite loud. And so I wrote the script in June 2020, and then, just over half a year later, or thereabouts, January the 6th happened, and suddenly, in a way, a kind of strange version of the events in the film were unfolding for real. And it wasn't that it made me want to put down the pen, it added more anger to it. On some level, when I saw that stuff happening, I was just disgusted by it. I found it dismaying and repellent that this had actually occurred. So yeah, but I do think it's wrong to direct all of this at America, because it is not solely contained in America. It's just America is the biggest, most powerful, most influential country in the world. So inevitably that's where your gaze goes. But I can show it in my own country or other people's countries perfectly easily.
Story follows 3 journalists. Alex, 4. Why did you want to make journalists central, sort of?
Oh, because I was just bored and kind of pissed off with the way journalists were constantly getting demonized. I was just over it. It struck me as not just stupid, it is stupid, but it's also unwise, because journalists protect us. Now, I understand that there are bad actors within the journalist space. There are journalists that bring everyone else down, but there's a lot of good people doing good work. And broadly, when people attack journalists, what they are doing often is protecting corrupt politicians. And that, to me, is pretty clearly a mistake. Somebody needs to guard against corrupt politicians. Journalists brought down Nixon because he was a crook. That was a good thing. We need to keep allowing them to do that good thing.
When I think about Ex Machina and AI, and then now this pretending to maybe, a real division that I could see happening even 28 days later, and then there was a virus that really took over the whole planet. Do you see yourself as some kind of future forecaster?
No, I don't. No, certainly not. But honestly, it's worth really pointing out. At the point I wrote these stories, this thing was around. It's not like me seeing it and brilliantly extrapolating. Everybody's talking about it. They may not have made it into a film, or they may have. I remember when Ex Machina came out, there were a whole bunch of AI movies. Ex Machina was far from the only one. There was a movie called Her. There was a Marvel movie called Age of Ultron or something like that. And there were a bunch of others too that I can't remember, but I would if I thought about it for a moment. It deceptively might look prescient. It's not prescient.
As a filmmaker, you obviously don't want to tell people what to think or how to feel.
No, I do. I just. Oh yeah, no, sure. I tell you, that was a joke.
But how do you hope people react to Civil War? What's the ideal reaction that you?
I don't know. I try to make films that are kind of visceral and propulsive and engaging and all that stuff while you're watching it. But I really also try to make things that leave space for a conversation or even encourage a conversation. And that's it. I hope, sometimes a film ends and you are forgetting it almost as you're walking out of the cinema. And I get that. That's pure escapism, and sometimes that is exactly what I want. And then there's a film like, say, Anatomy of a Fall, where in some ways it's a small, thoughtful, quiet film, but I kept thinking about it for a long time afterwards. And I try to make films like that. That's my ambition, that will stay in people's minds and be something they could talk over, having a beer with a friend or whatever.
What did you think of your characters at the beginning of the film? What did you think of them by the end? Because that last line from Wagner really stuck with me, and I thought a lot about it. As someone who works in the media and has worked in news media my whole entire life, because when he says that line, I thought, yeah, that is the headline.
Yeah. I wanted, on some level, I wanted a story where a writer and a photographer at the end get the iconic thing, which is what reporters are chasing, of that conflict, of that moment, the sort of summation of it. And the writer journalist and then the photographer journalist, who has kind of earned her stripes, gets what I suspect in the sort of imaginary world in 20 years' time, if you look back, that would be the iconic photograph, and she got it.
Before I let you go, I got to ask you about 28 years later. I think like last time we talked, you said there was an idea.
It was an idea.
And now it seems like it might happen.
Turned into a thing. That's Danny directing that, Danny Boyle, and start shooting really soon. They're in pre-production. So
it's happening.
It's happening. I think sort of late May they start filming.
What's this I hear about you not directing again?
This is an interesting thing. It's a phenomenon of our age, right? What I said was, I'm going to stop directing for the foreseeable future. That's actually what I said. It's in a Guardian interview that was done a few weeks ago, and all this story blew up out of that one interview.
Yeah.
Saying you're not going to direct for the foreseeable future is a really uncontentious statement, and it's really very different from retiring. It's saying I'm not going to do this for the moment, and the reason I said it is because I'm not. It's just a statement of truth. And one of the reasons is I wrote a movie for Danny, which he's going to direct. That's it.
Every time I survived the war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.